Hi, this is the old guy. Today I'm going to review Dehancer as a color grading tool and make a quick comparison to two other plugins for Final Cut Pro that share some of the same properties as Dehancer. Look where they overlap and where they don't and discuss pros and cons. This is info I wish was available when I were choosing one of these programs. My perspective is being a wedding photographer, also offering small highlight videos for the clients, and now as a YouTuber too. Everything in this video is graded with Dehancer and only Dehancer. The video differs from most other videos reviewing Dehancer. They tend to have more complicated workflows with a lot of steps, with Dehancer only being one of many grading steps. My goal is to keep the workflow as simple as possible with the least amount of steps. And if I can do all my grading in Dehancer, it would be perfect. I will share with you how it worked out for me at the end of this video. I have the same goal when making these videos for you. Keep it clean and simple in delivering, but this is a pretty hard job considering the extent of this program's possibility. But that's why I only use Dehancer to color grade in this video, just like I strive to do in all my stuff. And it still turned out to be a long video, and the mediation took me a long time to get how I wanted it. You can share with me in the comments if it worked out for me. Until now I've done most of my grading in FilmConvert nitrate, and I'll compare Dehancer to FilmConvert after I've showed you my Dehancer workflow and taken you along on a grade on one of these highlight wedding videos I do for clients. And at the end of this video, I'll share the final result with you guys. But Dehancer reached out to me and offered me to test their product about a month ago, confident that I would like it even though I have used FilmConvert since Nitrate came out. They even offered me a license and an affiliate link where you can get 10% off all the products when you apply this code on checkout, OLDGUY, and I get a small commission when you buy them too. But if you can get it cheaper elsewhere, go get it there. I'm all about that. I was actually a little hesitant to do this collaboration with Dehancer because I pride myself of being unbiased and I was afraid Dehancer wanted to affect that. But even when I told them I was going to compare it to a similar product I had used for several years, they didn't have any reservation and told me that it was my video and I could say whatever I wanted. I'll start by applying a mix of film effects that Dehancer offers, apart from the emulations and the color grading tools. These are not included when you generate LUTs, and I'd like to separate these tools from color grading tools in this video for better understanding. But let's apply them. Now I've applied all the settings you see at the right of the screen, and I think we're going to take the top off just by removing the overscan. Now it still looks like old film from old times to fit the old guy. I've taken some of the more dialed down presets, but they're still kind of aggressive. If I would use it on some of my grades, I would probably tone it even more down. But when you want a nostalgic look, or you want a dream sequence or a flashback in one of your movies or one of your YouTube videos, these more aggressive grades with Dehancer can be useful. And let's jump to some of my wedding footage and make a grade from the bottom with only Dehancer as a color grading tool. For this exercise, but only use the film stocks and the color tabs, as you see here. Let's start by showing you what I used to shoot this wedding footage with. This Mavic 3 Pro. There's an ND filter on the Mavic 3, but there's no mist filter. Then there's a little mini 3 Pro with a mist filter and an ND filter combined. And then my Sony a7 IV with a 35mm. The Sony also has a 1/8 mist filter connected to the front of the lens. The guests at the wedding used a pair of M100s. When I was gone home, I just rented them the cameras and they took pictures that I've used in this little 3-minute highlight video. I'm gonna apply some bloom to some of the footage without a mist filter But let's start on how I use this plugin. For the viewer's sake, I already cut the project, so the only thing I'm missing is the color grade and the final tuning of it all. That way you can come along in the color grading step. My reference are the pictures I took, and I'm going to try to make the video bits match the pictures. All the cameras I showed you before, using Dehancer as my only coloring tool. I'm going to start by applying the Dehancer onto this clip. It's under film simulations, but here's a catch. All the tabs are turned on when you apply this. So I'm going to make my own starting Dehancer preset without all the tabs applied and with all tabs open. Oops, later I found out that you can just push one button and then you can declick all the tabs without going through them all step by step. But when you've made a clean one like this, you push save presets, and I call it Dehancer clean, and save it. Then I remove the presets again, just so you can see I can apply the Dehancer clean. It then starts from where I saved it. And here we can start to apply from the top the camera profile that we want to use. And here's the catch. I shoot in Cine 2 cinema profile, and there's nothing in the Sony brand that comes close. It's either Rec 709 or the S-Log 3 footage, and none of the gamma curves fit. But I found the gamma curve that fits this Cine 2 footage really well. I'm just gonna reference it to my pictures again. It's pretty good, but down in the print I'm just gonna change it to glossy paper. It's more neutral and it fits the colors quite well, as you see here. Then I'm gonna reset the exposure to 0 as a starting point before I'm gonna make a preset for the A7 IV footage to apply on all my other A7 IV clips. Before I save this preset, I reset exposure. Now I'm gonna make a Sony A7 IV preset and save it like this. And then I'm just gonna hit Command C to turn down the exposure one more time on this exact clip. Here are all the adjustments to the right that I'm gonna use for color grading this little 3-minute video. And this is basic color grading with only Dehancer used. And these basic settings I will apply to every single clip, but I'm not gonna touch everything on all clips. You'll be able to follow the adjustments all the way through the 3-minute clip, and you'll be able to see before and after grading. See the settings at the right, and you see the grading coming gradually on all the clips. The DJI Mini 3 Pro is the only drone that doesn't shoot in D-Log-M, so I had to adjust it a bit more to fit the other drone shots. Also, it has a mist filter on, the other drones don't. The Mavic 3 Pro 1X camera shot in D-Log-M2. I shot all my footage in D-Log-M to make it consistent over the drones. As you see, I shot the Sony A7 IV in Cine 2 cinema profile, and Dehancer doesn't support this either. Actually, none of my cameras in this clip are fully supported by the camera profiles. But as you'll see here in this wedding highlight movie, it doesn't matter. I can fit other profiles to match my footage. I initially thought this would be a much bigger problem than it actually was. As you see in the pictures, the colors matches up really well. The 3X and the 1X settings are the same. They are matching perfectly. Only a bit of exposure compensation from clip to clip are needed. Other than that, I can just use the preset as it is. You can see in some of my Mavic shots, I added some bloom to match my shots on the Sony and the DJI Mini Pro, which has a mist filter attached. All the footage shot with my drones are shot in 4K, but the A7 IV and the Canon are both 1080p. The Sony is 10-bit though. Here we get two shots where I actually nailed the exposure a bit better and the white balance than on the other Sony shots. Now we have a couple of photos shot with the Canon M100 by guests. I rented them some M100s from Canon, then I edited the photos for them afterwards. Some guests even found out to shoot some video, and I used this in the video too, but I think it ended up matching the tone of the other clips really well. When you want to apply noise reduction, I would recommend is the first step you're doing. Even though I'm grading first, I'm just moving the noise reduction to the top. Now let's look at the clip where we have really hot and bright highlights because of the sun having hot spots passing through the trees. And as you see here, you can adjust exposure to two places, in the input and in the print. And for this reason alone, I'll always recommend to have print enabled. When it comes to colors, there are even more places to adjust them. And I would recommend just experimenting here. You can see me experimenting a bit for you here in all the color tabs. And if the colors aren't right, you can go to the color head too. And if you have found the right colors and you need some contrast added or removed, you can go to the expand tool to move the white and black points. But my advice is to experiment here, because there's too much for me to cover. Here are another clip where I underexposed the shot by a bit. But here I do not have to look out for really hot spots, as the image is just overall underexposed. Here I do the most of my exposure adjustment in the input and a little less in the print. But my goal is to make presets for all my cameras and profiles, and only needing to adjust white balance and exposure. But as you see here, if I miss too much, I have to touch up on the other tabs. And here we see the shot with the Mini 3 drone again, just to show you an example of where I use the expand tool to add some contrast. As a last tip, I'm gonna go over a global adjustments. Here I'm adding a little halation and a little grain. As you remember, I added the bloom in the single clips to even out the mist filter clips from those without a mist filter. And then we're just gonna go over the three last tabs real quick. We have a monitor tab, supports false colors as you see here, and a clip-in indication. And in this clip, everything is fine. Then we have an output with a total impact, and then we have a LUT generator with two different qualities of LUT. Again, it's only the color tabs, the color adjustments that get baked into the LUT. Everything from grain and down are not baked into the LUT, even though they are enabled. But LUTs are really helpful when you want to reference your footage in camera, or maybe when streaming and you want to give your streaming picture a bit of edge. And the last tab is options. I already showed you the disable all tool, which is kind of helpful when you want to start making your presets. Finally, a bit of comparisons between the FilmConvert and the Dehancer. Here we see you can match the footage pretty well between Dehancer and FilmConvert, but there's a difference in how it works. In FilmConvert, it's kind of a pop-up window. It doesn't integrate as well, and I could live with that, no problem. But one thing that annoys me is the lacking ability to Command C and redo your actions inside the FilmConvert plugin. It doesn't integrate with Final Cut Pro, whereas the Dehancer plugin only has one pop-up when you apply it, and it fits in with the other effects. And you can undo your actions with Command C. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's huge. Comparing the three softwares, Dehancer, FilmConvert and Color Finale. Which one should you get? Pros of them all: you get faster and smoother color grading in Final Cut Pro, and you get a LUT generator. Cons of them all: price and toll on your system. It's very hard on your system. Who should pick Color Finale? Color Finale is for those who like traditional color grading, less clunky than Final Cut Pro and more like DaVinci Resolve, and need a LUT generator. The integration is fine, but I'm not interested in this kind of plugin, as I choose Final Cut Pro over DaVinci because of the editing and workflow speed. And intuition: I'm not comfortable with DaVinci Resolve, and my brain doesn't function with it. And my brain likes these film emulation color grading tools more. But Color Finale might be for you, as I'm more equipped to compare the FilmConvert and the Dehancer plugin, as I'm used to the FilmConvert one and I've used it for many years. Pros of FilmConvert: there are more available camera profiles in FilmConvert than in Dehancer. But after trying Dehancer, I'd say it doesn't make that much of a difference. There's less stress on your hardware and your computer. Both run fine on my M1 Max MacBook Pro. I'd say denoising is harder on my computer than these two programs, but denoising is also the only thing that pushes it to the limit and can affect the playback on my Max M1. But if you don't need the add-ons from Dehancer, FilmConvert is only $119 on sale, and it runs a little bit smoother than Dehancer if you have a less powerful computer. But at first glance, FilmConvert is a third of the cost. But if they add more add-ons in the future, you'll have to pay for them. And if you need some of the things available in Dehancer that you might think will come in the future, you have to pay for them. In Dehancer, it's free. FilmConvert offers grain too, and with the new halation tool you can add bloom. But the downside of mixing halation and bloom is that you can't control them separately. When applying contrast, there are color wheels and curves and levels in FilmConvert, but they are even more clunky than the ones in Final Cut Pro. And the levels and curves are the only way to add contrast. Pros of Dehancer: here are the reasons to suck it up and get the lifetime pro version of Dehancer instead. All the effects are not available in FilmConvert, shown here in my studio setup, and the separation of the halation and the bloom, better integration, the plugin sits like other effects in Final Cut Pro and you can redo with the Command C, which you can't do with the FilmConvert. This is a massive annoyance for me, because you can by accident move the curves and you have no idea of finding the old point of the curve and you have to restart. You got smoother contrast and exposure adjustments in Dehancer when you learn the possibilities. There are more options though, and you need to learn them first. But it's kinda intuitive for me, because I come from Capture One photo editing and it's about the same. Dehancer is available for photo editing software too, and that's a big plus for people like me that do wedding photography as well as video. I'll be doing a review of the Dehancer plugin for Capture One for you photographers too. To sum it up, I will be using Dehancer as my only color grading tool from now on. Before making this video, I was only planning on using it partly for the effects I miss in FilmConvert. But I like the intuitive contrast and exposure controls more than the wheels and the curves and the levels in FilmConvert. I could probably get by with FilmConvert, but coming from Capture One, Dehancer makes me feel right at home and it feels more intuitive, at least for me. The biggest difference though, and what won me over, is the much better integration of Dehancer, making it feel like a native effect. And when I started using FilmConvert, it actually integrated better with Final Cut Pro than Dehancer. That's why I went with FilmConvert at the time. Now the tables have turned. But if you are on a budget and you don't have a fast computer, I might go with the FilmConvert plugin. But I prefer Dehancer. And I would like to say thanks to Dehancer for reaching out to a small channel like mine. I don't think I would have tried it if they hadn't done it. And now I will end this YouTube video by showing you the highlight wedding video I sent to my clients recently. Bye from the old guy.